We've got lots of questions. I have a question. So, if you remember, back in the day, I had the most awful time on my disease-modifying drug. I take Copaxone, and you actually rescued me and got it for me from the local commissioning group, but not after a fight, and not after I also had to pay for it quite a long time before I got it. Now, I think you'll find that people that are newly diagnosed, or people who know there's a drug that can help them, would be very happy to take the drug, but they seem to be held up, correct me if I'm wrong, by doctors not wanting to give them the drug because of the cost. Is that unreasonable?
Well, it's not the doctors. It's very complicated. It's not necessarily the doctors, because the doctors would like this. It's how the drugs have been licensed and commissioned in the country. So there are a lot of disincentives for us to prescribe.
Right.
So you may know that if you look at a league table of Europe, we're third from the bottom in terms of prescribing treatments to MS, particularly the more active ones. There's only 2 countries below us in Europe. It's Lithuania and Romania, and that's embarrassing. Because the UK is the second biggest economy in Europe now. I think we passed France about 2 or 3 years ago. So it's Germany, then the UK. And so to have the second biggest economy per capita, then we really should be giving people with MS the drug. So the problem with that, it's essentially the NHS puts a lot of stumbling blocks in our way in terms of access. And also the average neurologist has not adopted the early effective therapy approach. We're working on that though. I'm trying to get my colleagues to be more proactive in treating and monitoring this disease. So that takes time. But it doesn't only apply that league table doesn't only apply to MS, it also applies to other diseases. So if you look at outcomes in breast cancer, colon cancer, etc., the UK is behind other European countries. And I think it's because of the political system and the way the NHS functions. So we need meetings like this and people like you to lobby. We've all got MPs, we've got a political process in here to have access to treatments. And I think that's the issue. And also one of the cultural issues is, unfortunately, they make us as doctors think that we're gatekeepers of NHS expenditure, which is absolutely wrong. So when somebody comes into my consulting rooms, I'm not there to save the NHS money, I'm there to treat that patient. And we've got to make sure that doctors remember that they're not there to look after the NHS funding, they're there to treat their patients. And that's the cultural change we have to do. So some of us are deliberately trying to save money for the NHS. And the NHS kind of makes us feel that there's not enough money, but there is enough money, it's just how we spend the money, that's what's important. And so the NHS as a proportion, the UK as a proportion of gross domestic product spends very, very little on healthcare. So the solution is not to think of the cake as being this big, but to get the government to expand the cake. We have to spend more money on healthcare, it's as simple as that.
And I think the system relies on the patients being expert patients, when they go to their GP, almost telling them what they want to do and getting the referral and getting in front of someone.
So you all know Linda very well. You all know Linda very well? Yeah. So Linda would have been an expert patient. She took things into her own hands and found the right, found the way to get her treatment. And she was also in a very fortunate situation, so she could afford to pay. That's the other thing. You could afford to pay for it privately.
I could.
At that time you did.
At that time I could, yes.
So, which is also very unfair. So why should access to healthcare be dependent on how much money you both pay? And that's the tragedy.
I did get the money back though, I have to say.
Did you get the money back?
And then I got the money back.
I remember that too.
Any more questions for Gavin or any of his colleagues?
Yes.
I'm going to see early progressive MS. Why are you go early? I'm still on my recipe, I'll be honest. I was first in 89 with acute neuritis, but was officially diagnosed when I was 83. And I had, again, on the NHS, you couldn't get the 5-day dose of steroids, which is what they gave me back in those days. So I continued to be treated in that 5 days.
So the question.
But the problem is, I've taken it ever since, and now I worry about liver damage. Should I?
No. I think the liver damage we can pick up, and not everybody liver damage normally occurs early when you start drugs like carbamazepine. So the real question was, why are we targeting in our study early MS? So our philosophy is we have to add our drug on top of an existing anti-inflammatory drug, because we think you need to switch off the inflammation and add in on top. Now in this country, the guidance are, once you enter the secondary progressive phase of the disease, you should come off your disease-modifying treatments. So we're deliberately trying to test. So we want to get people before they actually have to come off their disease-modifying treatments. So this is why we want to. It's just got to do with the way we prescribe drugs in this country. Whereas the SMART study, you can't be on a disease-modifying treatment. So this is people already off their anti-inflammatory drugs or on no therapy, being tested on those trials. So we're actually going before them. So I actually think that you probably need anti-inflammatory drugs throughout the course of this disease with a neuroprotective drug added on top. There's no point in having neuroprotection without anti-inflammation, because the inflammatory lesions are still coming, causing their damage. And we need to. Yes.
So don't try and come off that.
Yeah, well, you're probably on it because of pain. Is that correct?
I don't know. I think they just thought that it suited me very well. I had such a disaster. No, the main reason was I had such a disastrous outcome with the steroids and really bad reaction to the steroid treatment, and went into a really deep depression, I suppose, for want of a better word. And they couldn't lift my mood.
Oh, well, so that's called, you on it because you've got a mood stabilizer. That's definitely understandable.
Then they saw another benefit to it, that it just helped generally, because it slowed me down and helped with the MS.
So the other use of these drugs is mood stabilization. So that's another. You need to talk to your. I can't give you advice.
No, I was wondering if it would still carry on that. Now I feel as if I'm immune to it, and maybe I don't need to take it.
Any other questions?
Yeah, is it right time to ask a question, Dr. Martha?
Yes?
Yes, in relation to the Proximus study, you said that you were doing a trial in relation to people who are still on DMT. If it's successful, would, oxcarbazine, would that be appropriate for people who are no longer on DMTs or who would be on?
So, as I tried to explain, what we measure as a marker of nerve loss of the progression symptoms is the neurofilament in the spinal fluid. People who have relapses, they will still have a lot of that neurofilament because of the damage that every inflammatory attack gives. So we think that we need to take away that inflammation for the drug, the neuroprotective drug, to be effective at doing neuroprotection. So we think that what we are trying to prove is that it works in combination. If it's effective, we will not have proven that it works without taking away the inflammation. Maybe, but the study shows that together with no inflammation, this drug protects the nerves in people with MS. So that's going to be, hopefully, our outcome, the result of the study, but we will not have shown that it protects without that anti-inflammatory drugs.
Okay.
And we still know that people who have progressive MS, people still have inflammation. That's why Gavin said that he feels that even people who are in the progressive stages should be on an anti-inflammatory drug, on disease-modifying drugs. So, to answer your question, no, I don't think that after, even if our study is positive, I don't think that we can say that people who are not on disease-modifying drugs will benefit from it, because the study is to show that the association works.
Right, so that would require an additional study if that were contemplated. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Thanks, Richard. Great question. Giovannoni.
I mean, from a personal viewpoint, I found this one really interesting because it's the first time ever that there's been any positivity towards progression and doing something for progression and for people that have already sort of reached a certain level. But with some of them, particularly side effects, Now that's prescribed abroad, it's been passed by NICE, but it's a postcode lottery.
No, it hasn't been passed by NICE. That's the problem. If it was passed by NICE, then you'd have access to the drug. So NICE it's been passed by the European Medicine Agency. In other words, it's a legal drug that's been shown to be safe and effective. But to be used in the NHS, it's got to be shown to be cost effective. In other words, is it at the price that NHS has to pay for it, is it worth using it? Unfortunately, the company who developed it didn't really collect enough information in the trials to prove that it was cost effective. So we don't know, based on the NICE criteria, if it's cost effective. So actually, it's never really been before the NICE as an official, what they call a, what's it called? You put this
Technology appraisal.
It hasn't had a formal technology appraisal. And I know why it hasn't, because the data isn't there. The company that's marketing in this country is called Bayer. And when Bayer looked at the development pack, they realized they couldn't submit it to NICE because there wasn't enough data to do the cost effectiveness modeling. So it is a postcode lottery, but some commissioners in some parts of the country are allowing it to be prescribed.
Well, they are here. There are some of us up at the centre that actually can get it on the NHS through their doctors,
Yes.
and some of us can't.
Dr. Farrell, are you prescribing it to Queen Square?
We prescribe it at Queen Square. So we'd be very happy to see people. And if we think, so as Gavin said, it's not widely available, so NICE haven't signed off on it. Therefore, NHS England have not recommended it, that it would be routinely reimbursed. What's interesting is that NHS Wales have, and actually that's very important because it may well be that that becomes the foothold for NHS England to pay. At the National at Queen Square, we do prescribe it within our spasticity clinic for people who have moderate to severe spasticity that isn't controlled on the other medications. And so if you haven't been able to source it locally, we'd be very happy to see you. And obviously then there's a judgment of is it the right thing for the individual, but if you can face a trip into London, we'd be happy to look into that.
Well, if you get Dr. Shamoon to get it sorted out locally.
He's tried.
Has he tried?
Yes, he
Okay.
really has tried.
I mean, the other issue you've got to realise is the latest social care board has actually dissociated NICE rulings from the local commissioners. So in the past, once NICE had passed it, it was like a law, and now that's not the case anymore. So what we are going to see is going back to postcode prescribing, because the commissioners are going to now decide whether or not they will implement NICE guidance. So it's a big issue, an emerging issue, is even if NICE said yes, we may find certain commissioners saying no because they don't think it's based on their priorities in their area, it's worth funding. So we're absolutely going back to postcode prescribing. It's going to be a tragedy, but it's pretty unfortunate.
I'm just wondering if someone isn't able to get the drug prescribed in their local area, how they would get referral to yourself? Would that have to come through their GP?
Either your GP or the neurologist.
And would the GP always be happy to?
Generally, yeah. So, and I think one of the things we've noticed can be that if somebody's seeing a physiotherapist, like it's for spasticity, so often maybe people have been in contact and seen by a physio, and actually a physio can be a really good match for a GP. Can you hear me? I was saying if people have spasticity and they see a physiotherapist, that could be a very useful way to nudge your GP to refer you on to the more specialist centre. But generally your GP should listen to you, and if you say I'd like to be referred to the spasticity service at Queen Square, then generally you do it. No, it has to come from a doctor, but what we often get from GPs is please see this patient in your clinic, see attached letter, and the letter attached is from the physio detailing everything that's going on. So I think the majority of GPs, when it comes to things that are it's outside their comfort zone, I think they're quite willing to refer on.
And that's a very good point, Rachel, because we do have very experienced neurophysios here. This one at the back, Louise, and they do. Gabby and Louise. And they,
I'm well.
Slightly Slightly ahead of everyone, but yeah.
and we do signpost and refer to GPs, but part of that is, I think anyway, you've got to be a little bullish with your GP because you know your condition more than they do, typically. So go armed with everything you need and tell them what you want. You want to go and see a new friend Gary. A new friend Rachel.
Yes, I mean, this is exactly how you respond. I mean, you say you're Welsh. I don't know if you said the cancer drug fund is an English fund only, and all the patients in Wales who couldn't get these chemotherapy were just finding addresses in England to get the therapies in England. And so so people will move to find what they want. Yes.
Oh, I just wanted to know about famotidine and the SMART trial. I couldn't quite catch whether it's just whether you've started it within the preceding 6 months that exempts you from being able to.
Thank you for the question. If you started within 6 months, then we have to wait before we can enroll you. So this is an exclusion criteria because it's just a matter of timing. So we have just to wait 6 months and then we can screen you.
So if you've been taking it for longer than 6 months?
Yeah, it's fine.
then
It's fine.
okay.
Absolutely fine.
It's just to get you on a stable base going into trial. Yes.
If I would you again, you can't get on the NHS at all.
No, you can. Dr. Farrell's got a clinic where she's got a very strict criteria though, so the majority of people won't fulfill the criteria, but there are places where, I think the only place in England is prescribing. So the only place in England that's prescribing is the walking clinic at Queen's Square.
Why is the demarcation of both treatment and trials between secondary and primary progressive?
That's kind of historical. Based on the way we classified this disease was based on what we call the phenotype, what it looks like clinically. So the classification has always been between relapse onset and primary progressive disease. There's currently a lobby going on to change that so the regulators can go back to what we used to call it chronic progressive disease, which was chronic progressive just means getting worse slowly. And that used to include both secondary and primary progressive. We don't feel there's any difference between the two. So we're trying to get to the community, the regulators, to accept chronic progressive disease again. It's just unfortunate how things happen and get stuck like that. So I personally think that they're the same disease. The people with primary have just missed out on the relapse phase because they haven't had any relapses. And anyway, people with primary progressive disease, about 10 to 15% of them will go on to have relapses anyway. So they overlap massively. No more questions? Everybody's exhausted.
Just to confirm that this has been filmed and it will go onto our website. And we'll also put there's somebody else there now. And we'll also put a link to Gavin's blog, which is nothing if not informative.
Yes?
I think it was about 2 years ago that you came down here with Professor Giovannoni.
Yes.
Yes.
And I found what he had to say astonishing and really exciting. I sort of lost, I know he's Sydney, I think.
He's in and out of Sydney. He's still commuting between the two, London and Sydney.
But the theory he came up with, which I think was to do with his HIV patients, had actually progressed to be further.
So we actually finished the trial of an antiretroviral drug, and it's been analysed. We should have the results next week on this. The statistician promised us the first run of the data next week, but that was an opportunistic trial because we managed to find a company that was prepared to give us the drug and fund the trial for one drug. We actually wanted to do a combination therapy. So even if that trial is negative, we mustn't give up on it because we've actually published and shown that there's some kind of link between those retroviruses and MS, and so we need to take that forward. Which is something we have to wait for the results of the trial. That's one of the things. If you're doing a trial in an area, you can't move on to the next phase until it's over. So hopefully once we get the results, we can have some kind of hint of a signal to support the concept so we can get more funding to the other trials. So it is going on. Sure.
I've been having a look around at drug companies, major manufacturers, and you talk about drug companies. Are there any of them English?
Yeah, unfortunately,
I mean, I'm asking that because it then perhaps links in the comment.
yeah, so there are English companies. The way we classify pharmaceutical companies is big pharma, these are the multinationals, and there's medium and small. So unfortunately, when it comes to the multinationals, GSK is considered a British pharmaceutical company, and AstraZeneca is also a British company. But they've got most of their work outside the UK. They do. They've got a drug. GSK's got a very exciting drug, but it's caught between a hard place and a pillar in the sense that a couple of months, about a year ago, GSK gave all their cancer drugs to Novartis, and they took all the vaccines from Novartis. It was a switch around. And there's a particular drug that's been used in cancer called ofatumumab, and GSK were developing it for MS. They've done the phase 2, and they're about to start a phase 3 trial last year, phase 3 program. And they've given the oncology indication to Novartis, and Novartis didn't want the MS indication. So GSK now got this drug that's on the market for cancer, and because of that, I think they're stalling on whether or not to go forward in MS, which is a great tragedy because the results are unbelievably brilliant. And it's a subcutaneous injection, and so this unfortunately what happens with pharmaceutical companies. Often the decisions are business related, but nothing to do with people with the disease on the ground. So if any one of those people on the GSK team, if anybody know the GSK team working on ofatumumab, they should come and see people here to understand they really got to take that drug forward. So that's GSK.
I've been looking and the only sort of major players that identified were American, the 3 big American multinationals, company that does, for instance, Biogen, who make Cysabrin, I think. It's American. There's probably one Swiss.
So Novartis is Swiss, Roche is Swiss, Teva is Israeli.
There's no English.
Yeah, unfortunately, the pharmaceutical companies punished England. So when NICE came about, they all closed down their research divisions. So they did them one after the other. GSK's closed it down, Novartis, Pfizer. They've all taken their research elsewhere, and that's a tragedy because it's killed an industry that was thriving in this country. I mean, we must have lost 60,000 research jobs in pharmaceutical companies from the UK.
I think you're going to hang around a little. I know the 3 that I brought from the station are going to hang around. I'm not taking them.
Very grateful back to London. She's got a birthday party.
One other comment.
Yes.
I just want to make one other comment because obviously it's very interesting to talk about the trials, but I think it's really important not to forget that if you're not eligible for any of these things, but other aspects that we've spoken about are of interest, do tap into the clinical services, be it at your local neuroscience centre if you're not getting it in the local hospital, or getting referrals onwards. Because sometimes, going to a highly specialised clinic can actually, do a lot more for you as a one-off and then give a lot of advice to return back. So I think, it's very interesting today, but, maybe you can come away with more than just a research trial if you look into it.
Thanks, that's very valuable. Just one more thing on the website that this is going to go on. We will put all the contact details certainly for Rachel and Gavin and Monica. You're the research, and you do very valuable work. Do you see patients?
Yes.
So we can get okay. So we'll put everything that you need to know on the website, and don't be afraid to ask. What else? More tea, more questions, and comfort break. And thank you so very much for coming. Thank you.
Doctor.